Okay, folks, we're live. Bob, they're all yours. Earth to Bob, they're all yours. Start talking, Bob. Somebody tell Bob to unmute himself and start talking.
My computer says Bob Ficella's network bandwidth is low. Maybe.
Okay, can you not hear me?
Now we can.
We can now.
Okay, well, hopefully you'll be able to hear me. All right, well, we'll call this meeting to order. Thanks for everyone that's on the line. Recognition of elected officials. Let's see, we have, is that you, Mayor? Lynn's iPhone?
She's on.
Okay, John Hennigan?
I'm here.
We got John.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. We've got John as well, and we've got Robert Patrick on the phone as well. Why don't we do approval of December minutes? Hopefully everyone has seen the minutes. And I don't believe there are any corrections. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much. I think that's any nays? I didn't think so. Okay. First up on the agenda is Michael Starling, Dunwoody's Director of Economic Development. But before we do that, I want to have a quick addition. Is our DeKalb County Commissioner, Robert Patrick. Robert was going to update us on the DeKalb County sanitation. Robert, if you would, please.
Bob, thanks so much. Once again, it's good to be in front of the Dunwoody Homeowners Association, as well as the other elected officials, Mayor Deutsch, John Hennigan. I think that's all I see right now. So as you know, we had sent out a notice apologizing profusely for the missed recycling and yard clipping services that have happened. And I had the opportunity to speak with our Chief Operating Officer, Zach Williams. And he sort of explained to me the realities of the impact of COVID on our staff. And I thought that perhaps the best thing to do was to actually have our Chief Operating Officer come and speak to us tonight and sort of give the insider's view at the staff level as to what's happening and what we anticipate the plan is for getting that service taken care of. Zach?
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I really appreciate it. And to all of the membership who's in attendance, I appreciate the opportunity to speak and to be part of this discussion. As a matter of fact, as a Dunwoody homeowner myself, I should probably attend these meetings more often and see a lot of the things that are going on within the city. And Madam Mayor, I appreciate your attendance, as well as council member, I believe, was also mentioned. So where we are as it relates to sanitation, and I apologize, I see that my screen and background is a little washed out, but as Commissioner Patrick mentioned, over the past several weeks, really starting around Thanksgiving, our sanitation department, much like public service and private service agencies throughout the nation and throughout the world, really began feeling the effects of the Omicron virus, the COVID-19 Omicron variant. And unfortunately, over the past really 30 days or so, we have consistently seen growth in the number of employees who are infected with Omicron. I believe as of last Thursday, really, well, let's just start with a week ago, Thursday.
I'm going to have to do this from down here, okay?
So, going back, say, around 10 days, I think we were down approximately 20% of our overall operation. And to understand why that is, in a lot of, and we're seeing the effects, whether it's Delta Airlines or the cruise industry or wherever. I mean, we're seeing it, everywhere. In particular, the sanitation department is an environment not only where they, get dressed and such in locker room type settings, but as you would imagine, on the days where it's, every day, when the sanitation drivers leave their routes, they are in a cab of a truck. So they are all, sitting next to one another. And that is an environment, quite frankly, that is ripe for the spread of the virus. And, in these days when it's wet and 30 degrees and such, they're out there picking up to the best of their ability. But when they're going from neighborhood to neighborhood, they do assemble back in the cab and ride together. What that has done, it's created an environment that is perfectly suited, unfortunately, for spreading the virus. When that happens, up until a week or so ago, employees would be out for 14 days. They're able to be out for only 5 days under certain circumstances now, if they're vaccinated and wear a mask and things like that. We follow CDC guidelines, of course, but it has had an impact on the overall pickup of garbage, yard debris, and recycling. So what we have done is we've had to prioritize. I mean, we're down approximately 20% of the workforce, and what we've attempted to do beginning this past week is extend the hours. So you have 80% of the folks, and we're working them, another a couple days. So if you add that in, that's really a 30% increase from a 4-day work week to a 6-day work week. So those employees who are healthy and able to work worked this past Friday and Saturday.
Mhm.
We were contemplating having them work Sunday, but thus far my conversations with the director of sanitation, she's just not at a point to advise that because the likelihood of injuries and such dramatically increase if they don't get a day of rest. So what have we done specifically? We have encouraged folks to leave the yard debris at the curb. The recycling, we should have gotten up all recycling yesterday, between Friday and yesterday, and the yard debris is still down. When I walk my dogs, and literally, I have my Christmas tree out front of my house. And so this week we will get caught up with the yard debris, and we're going to continue to extend the hours. We are very optimistic that our test regimen is going to see an increase overall in our staffing. We have provided test kits to all of our employees. And thus far, we have seen, quite frankly, in fire rescue, where that has worked well for us. What it initially means is everyone takes a test, we send people home, many of which were asymptomatic and did not know that they were carriers. But over time, what that does is it eliminates the virus in the workplace, at least by and large. So we are hopeful, as we've seen in fire rescue, where we began with, I want to say, approximately a 20%, maybe 10, 15% positive rate. And we were down to 3 firefighters out of 131 on Friday. We're hoping for something similar to happen in sanitation over the next week or so, through insisting on testing and then having folks, when they test positive, leave the workspace. Because in large part, we feel what has happened is you have spreaders who don't know that they're ill until, so you may have some people who stay asymptomatic, but then they affect others who become ill. So we just appreciate your patience, appreciate you assisting us in getting the word out that garbage is the top priority for the obvious reasons, that the potential for varmints and such that are created by leaving garbage out, recycling, is right behind that, and then yard debris. But working this past weekend, we were able to get up the recycling. We hoped to be able to get up recycling and yard debris. In some of our zones, we were able to. It's just that in the North District, coming out of the North lot, the recycling participation is a lot heavier. And so we were not able to run crews through all recycling and get back and get the yard debris. So that's kind of where we are. We just appreciate you bearing with us and understanding that, you know, we have committed from day one of this virus to not allow it to impact us too much. Sanitation is one of those critical services, and we prioritize the service overall. And at the top of that prioritization, of course, is the household waste.
And just to follow up, Zach, with what you were saying, essentially sanitation triage is what we could call it, as in household waste is the priority, which will be taken care of so that we don't have any vermination or any other public health concerns that pop up. But then close behind that is recycling, and then yard clippings, which ultimately gets to the cleanliness of the community, which is a priority as well.
Fantastic. Zach, I really appreciate the update. Robert, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Considering how many men you're down, it's admirable the job that you guys have done. We had to wait an extra 5 days for yard waste to be picked up. Not a big deal. Excuse me, the recycling.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I ask a question first to Mr. Williams? First, I just wanted to say that in all the years that I've lived in Dunwoody, I have never met anyone from sanitation, from administration down to the crews on the trucks, who wasn't a lady or a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one department I always look forward to working with. The rest of Cobb County, but sanitation always has it together.
Well, I make sure you get my number. We're going to fix that for the rest of the county. I appreciate the report, but we want to, we aim to please.
Now, a few years ago, there was a very big deal about having a bunch of fully automated mechanical trucks that lift containers with an extendable arm that was supposed to reduce the number of workplace injuries, and it would reduce the workforce through attrition. Has that mitigated any of the situation here?
Interestingly enough, it has. But for, and what we call them affectionately is the one-armed bandits, right? And so throughout our system, there's either 50 or 70, don't quote me, but there's a number of them deployed throughout the system. But it's where we are right now, it hasn't been enough. And a couple of other key things that are worth noting. It's the timing of this variant during the holiday season. So you had, not the regular schedule for New Year's and Christmas. Typically that Friday, I guess that preceded both of those holidays, would be normally a work day. And it was not. So historically, we have used those days as a catch-up day. So both of those Fridays were days off for our system, and then compound that with this variant that really caught like wildfire internationally starting around Thanksgiving. So, all of that has been in effect. But we're continuing to roll out the one-armed bandits. Over time, that will help. But it is still for the most part, a very labor-intensive job. And I'll be honest with you, I thought of it for the first time the other day when I was driving into work, and I saw, 3 men in the cab, because it was maybe 28 degrees or something. And I never really gave much thought, because when you see them in front of your house, they're hanging off the truck, they're in open air. But if you're going from one street to another, or coming from the North Lot into Dunwoody or Doraville or any place else on the freeway, they're going to be sitting in that close proximity. And so that's just an environment ripe for spreading.
Any other questions for Zach or Robert? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate it, Zach. Come join us anytime.
I definitely will. And just to note, one of my favorite, I think, Sunday activities is going to the farmer's market. So I look forward to, is it Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it is?
Saturday.
Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah. So going to the park and, you know, picking up fresh produce. So keep up the good work, guys. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Zach. Robert, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Zach, and Bob, thanks for inviting us and giving us an opportunity to speak to the residents on this important topic. As Zach will tell you, I have been texting and emailing him frequently and staff, and I hope I haven't worn out my welcome with them. But this has been a big priority. Dunwoody, Doraville, unincorporated areas as well. Also get comments from Brookhaven and a little bit of the Tucker area. So please realize that this is an important topic. We are well aware of it. And ultimately, our goal is to keep that level of service up and running, no matter what the environment is. So please bear with us and we will get it back up there. Thank you.
Absolutely. And by the way, if you leave a Christmas present for your trash employees, they will run your trash can right back up to your garage door. That's always nice.
Wonderful.
Want to turn
It works.
What always turn it does work, and like Adrian said, we've always had great guys, always gentlemen. I want to turn it over to Michael Sterling, Dunwoody's Director of Economic Development, for all the latest on the city. Michael, take it away. The floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Bob, and I apologize it's taken so long to get me here. I know you asked a couple of months ago, but my idea tonight is to give you a brief overview of some of the highlights 2021, talk about a little bit about what's coming up in 2022, and I think you said you've got some questions about High Street and some other developments. So 2021 started with economic development really focused on CARES small business grant. We gave out over $2 million to small businesses within Dunwoody. It was a very time intensive process here at the city, not just my department, but really finance. But we think we did a really good job, and we're happy and proud of the work we did around that. Dunwoody Village has started, obviously, the reimagination and redevelopment of that with Barn and the Courtyard. Development Authority was very involved in getting that underway. We've provided $160,000 for furniture, fixture, and equipment, not just in the Courtyard, but there are 3 other areas that Regency is planning to reimagine in the village. And all of that furniture was purchased by the Development Authority. So we're thrilled with Barn and what the Courtyard looks like. And I understand that David already has his next restaurant. The lease is done and he is starting on that. So next summer, there'll be another restaurant there, and we'll hopefully continue to push that forward. Public art lives under economic development. So I manage, along with Rosemary Watts, the Art Commission. It's been a very busy year for us. We've had 14 submissions, 14 approved pieces of public art. 7 of those have actually been installed. And we expect next year to be just as busy, if not busier. We're thrilled with how things are going. It's taken a little bit of time to get our arms around it and to sort of learn about it. We've got a great art commission, and they are enthusiastic about public art in Dunwoody. You know, prior to COVID, office leasing in the market was on a tear. We had a lot of momentum, had a lot of fairly large office projects happening. Of course, all that stopped during COVID, but it has recently picked back up. Carvana has subleased an entire office building from State Farm. Their first office building that State Farm built right next to the MARTA station. They are now fully out of that building, and Carvana is beginning to move people in. It was not something that State Farm had thought they were going to do. It wasn't something that they were trying to lease that space. They have an existing relationship with Carvana. Conversation started. State Farm, like all businesses, are now looking at their office use differently. Their folks are working from home quite a bit. So the deal popped up and they did it very quickly. And so the State Farm name is actually coming off the building, started last week, and Carvana will go up. So that's almost 600,000 square feet lease. Hapag Lloyd, which is a international shipping company, they're moving their U.S. headquarters to Dunwoody in August. They're moving from New Jersey, about 786 new jobs to Dunwoody. About 250 of those are new to state of Georgia. We worked on that project for over 6 months with Cobb County and our partners at the State Department of Economic Development. So very happy with those. Those are very high paying jobs, really good company. Centene is an insurance company. They moved into Terraces earlier this year. So we're very excited that that momentum is coming back, and we think we're going to see even more next year. So coming up in 2022, obviously High Street is the biggest project that's underway. In phase one, if you haven't been by the site, you can actually go into the 211, drive into the parking deck and get up on top and see the construction that's underway. Phase one consists of 150,000 square feet of retail, about 90,000 square feet of new office space, 598 apartments, and they're going to renovate the existing office building as well, which we're very happy about. So obviously that's going to take a couple more years, so you won't see people actually moving into that project until probably 2024, mid 2024. Ashford Lane is an exciting project that's in the former Perimeter Place Shopping Center. They renamed that. The new owner closed on that property the month before COVID. They obviously were not expecting that, but they were expecting to really renovate and reposition that entire center. The food hall, which was supposed to open, I think, last summer, is still inching its way forward, and they say they think certainly in the first quarter that project will open, and that's 17,000 square feet of new restaurants. Really exciting part of this is what they were calling the lawn. It's the area in front of Hobnob, that street that sort of takes you into that part of the development that ends at the Taco Mac. They've closed that down. They've ripped up the street and everything in the middle, and they're going to create a 70,000 square foot, really it's going to be a green space park. All of the restaurants that are going into that center are going to open up onto that green space. It's sort of like the Dunwoody Village courtyard, just 7 or 8 times as large. Restaurants like Superica, Sweet Green, Jenny's Ice Cream, Grana, Italian have already signed leases onto that site. So we're very excited about that. And it should open sort of summer-ish, maybe late spring, but certainly by early summer that the lawn will be open. Lazy Dogs is moving towards opening. I don't think they have their certificate of occupancy yet, but they are moving that way, hiring. As a lot of restaurateurs and really everybody, they were waiting on equipment. Windows were their big issue. They built out the entire inside and didn't have windows on the front of the restaurant, which I thought was a little strange. But they're moving towards opening. North Italia is moving into the old California Pizza Kitchen space. They've actually started construction of that. North Italia is owned by Cheesecake Factory. I've not been to one, but it's a very large Italian restaurant, and they're expanding rapidly across the country. P.F. Chang's has signed a lease in the mall. They're moving into the former Cowfish Sushi Burger Bar space. It's right on the front of the mall. So we're excited that space will finally be filled, and we think P.F. Chang's is a user that will actually work in that space. We have some restaurants up there that do really, really well. And then other spaces, we just can't keep restaurants going there. So that's good news. Publix in the center down the street on Ashford Dunwoody Road They do have their certificate of occupancy. They got that last week. And they say over the next 2 weeks, they should be having a grand opening in that space. So the restaurant will come a little bit later. They're a little bit further behind. And I do not have timing on when the gas station will get under construction. Their plans are in process, but I don't have a date of when that's gonna start. And in 2022, again, we expect the Dunwoody Village to continue its renovation. We're also talking to the Shops of Dunwoody about making the same kind of investments that Regency has made in Dunwoody Village in the Shops of Dunwoody. They're coming in and requesting some of the final CARES money that we have in our Al Fresco grant program. And they're putting, I think, about $600,000 or $700,000 into that center. So it's going to be new paint, new windows. It's going to look like almost a brand new center. So we're very happy about that. Two big projects, really planning projects we're working on. Entrepreneur and small business development has been something that we have just never had staff to really focus on. But during COVID, we realized that was something that we need to have a game plan on, how we really service our small businesses and focus on startups. So we hired a consultant. That consultant has been working the past 6-7 months on a plan that should be ready by the end of January. So we'll see what that plan has to say, but we're hopeful that it'll give us a good direction on how we can help our small mom and pops as well as technology startups. And a big project we're working on is what we're calling Ed City 2.0. It's really coming up with a vision on what Dunwoody's portion of Perimeter Center looks like over the next 20 or 30 years. We think this is one of the most important things as the city continues to grow, is to have a one conversation, not just with property owners, but bring the community in and have elected officials at the table to talk about exactly what this market's going to look like in 20 years or 30 years from now. We've hired Pond and Company. They've started they're about a month into a year-long process. They're collecting data right now. We expect probably around April to start having public meetings for that, and the project will be wrapped up by November. So all of you will be hearing a lot more about this. It's going to be a great deal of public engagement, public meetings, survey work, and the consultants will be really sitting down. What we hope is the entire community and having a conversation about that. So those are the big projects coming in 2022. I'd be happy, Bob, if it's appropriate, to take questions from you or other board members about other issues you're interested in.
Well, I'll start it up, Michael. So, yeah, I've driven by High Street, and it looks like they are process is well underway. I think it's a 3-phase process, if I recall. And are they starting basically from Perimeter West, building towards Hammond?
Yeah, so 211 Perimeter Center Parkway is the existing office building that's sort of catty corner. It's the tall building that's closer to Perimeter Center West. Yeah, that phase 1 goes from there really to that first low-rise office building. And it takes up more than a third of the site. But it's the first phase. Once that's done, the idea is that they will then just take those other 2 low-rise buildings down and go with phase 2, but they could jump over to phase 3 and start that, depending on what kind of development the market is looking for, because that's where they're at the corner of Hammond and Perimeter Center Parkway is where their big office building will go. So they can jump and do that, but the idea is to sort of move methodically from Perimeter Center West all the way down to Hammond.
You had mentioned 500 plus apartments. What was the total number of apartments? And if I recall, there was also a condominium asset to that as well.
Yeah, my understanding is, and I don't know all the ins and outs of the zoning, but 3,000 units total. 1,500 of those can be apartments and 1,500 can be condos. I think they were wanted to build condos in phase one. We've been working with them for,
20
really
years.
12 years, 15 years,
Yeah.
forever. But like really working with them for the past really 18 months. At the beginning of COVID, they were getting ready to start the development of the project, and COVID sort of threw them. So we've been working very closely with them. They really think the condos will work there, but it's hard to get a condo developer to get the financing for it when you're saying, well, here are the nice pictures of what this is going to look like. We promise you this is what it's going to look like. So they think they need phase one complete before they bring back condo development. Because phase one really is the entertainment portion of it, where the big green space is going to be built. It's sort of more of the entertainment center. And so they think that is critical to them moving forward with phase 2 and 3, but also with condos. So if you look at the project, if this is phase 1 of 3, and they're only building 600 apartment units, to me, it doesn't seem like they're going to get to 3,000 units. But that's just me looking at it. They could go much denser in the future, which I know is their plan. I'm just not sure if our market is one that will support high-rise apartments or even many more high-rise condominiums.
Well, with that said,
It's just my opinion.
Is there a latest on Grubb and where they stand on their residential portion of their build?
I have not talked to them. I know that there was some reporting out that they were looking at possibly tweaking that zoning. Obviously, it's 900 condos right now. But I have not heard anything from them specifically. I'm not sure if our community development office has heard from them specifically, but there has been some reporting in the newspaper that they were coming back in and wanting to change that.
Not just to interrupt Michael for just a quick minute. This is Lynn. To be clear, when that article was released on whatever web blog it was, they had not come back to the city to talk about that. The article made it sound like it was like a done deal. It was a PR piece, I think, but they had never come down, they had never come into City Hall or picked up the phone and called our community development director to say, here's what we're thinking. So, we were just as surprised as everybody else to read that article. I just wanted to share that.
Mm-hmm. And that would obviously require a rezoning of the entire project, because the zoning is very specifically on 900 condos. So.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions? Hey, Michael, I haven't talked to David Abe's since he opened up. I was over there and it looked like he's off to a pretty good start. Have you spoken with him to get an idea of what he's, how he's feeling about his opening?
Yeah, he
recommend
is.
the banh mi flatbread, just throwing that out there.
I've been 4 or 5 times, and I go by. If I don't go into the restaurant, I go by just to check it out. I think he's doing really, really well. Obviously, he wouldn't share any of his financial doings with me, but he has been extremely busy with private events. He actually had a large technology company from Perimeter rent out the entire courtyard, which is something that people can do right before Christmas to do a holiday party. They put the huge tent up. It was, during the day when normally he's not even open. He held on to that tent. But I think he's doing extremely well, even with cold weather. Obviously, that dampens the courtyard. But I tell you, it's springtime. I cannot imagine how busy that area is going to be. And when he opens his next restaurant, the next restaurant that he's planning to open is it's not really barbecue. It's Morty's Meat and Supply concept, and he'll hold on to the food truck with the taqueria, and then that would be the third restaurant. So he and Regency are going, I think, very smartly, going very methodically, opening a restaurant one at a time to get their feet under them. But I think for the first time in a long time, I think the vision of what the village can be in the future is really right there. And he knew it. And I remember our first meeting with him, which was before COVID, and we thought COVID had killed the project, which it sort of did throw it off when he came back. I think that vision that he had was right on, and it's going to be a home run. Now,
Bob,
our big issue moving forward is how do we make other improvements to the village? How do we improve the connectivity and the walkability? And how do we make the parking lot feel less like a parking lot and more of an integrated place? We are having discussions internally with our Public Works Department, Community Development, as well as with Regency. There's been our relationship with Regency could not be any different than it was when I first started at the city. They absolutely 100% understand that, yes, they have some retail centers like the public shopping center that really is, that's probably what it's always going to be. But that they have an opportunity with the village to do something very unique. And it has to be a place where people want to go spend time. It has to be active. It has to be, cool and hip. And so they are totally on board with I think our vision of where things are going, which is critically important to making it happen.
Hey, Bob, it's Jeff. I was there the other day, and I think he said Friday was the best day he's had since they've been open. And a side note to what you were saying about art, Bob, Michael, was that first mural that went up, the Funwoody mural that he put up, which looks awesome. And I think they're going to add another one on left side with some colors and so on. So that art really looks great as well. And I know that had to get approved from the city. Looks great.
I've been by over there once, and I've driven by, and it just seems like he's attracting pretty good crowds. And when he gets a permanent restaurant going in there, it's only going to make it better. I was surprised what the transformation has been. It looks pretty good, all things considered. I think it looks great.
Yeah, and it took really everybody. It took obviously David and his vision, and the development authority stepping in, because his point was he could not make the investments in the courtyard. He just couldn't work that into his numbers, and so the development authority stepping in and helping make that happen. It just brought it all together, and then having Regency on board and really sharing the vision. I don't know exactly where it is, but they're talking to another breakfast spot coming into the empty cleaners that's on the corner. So just sort of down at the very corner, I forget the name of the cleaners that used to be, but it sort of shares.
Alice Cleaners you're thinking of?
Yes, yep, Alice Cleaners.
Yeah.
And so they've got a bagel breakfast spot coming in there. So it's gonna, it's not just what David is doing. Although I do know once he gets settled in that he's gonna have, Barn will be open at least on the weekends for breakfast, and maybe every morning. So it's gonna be more of a sort of everyday type thing, not just 4 o'clock. It's been normal, so. It's very exciting to see happen. We've been sort of working at this and hoping and cajoling that for so long that now hopefully this is just the start.
I have a question. If you're coming on Chamblee Dunwoody from Womack, and you want to enter into the shopping center, the Regency Shopping Center, I guess where Fresh Market would be.
Mhm.
In talking with Regency, is there any way to improve that entrance? That is a
They-
terrible entrance and exit. It is not safe.
Yeah, it's they actually have a plan to straighten that entrance exit. It would actually entail taking down the old bank building that I think is now a cleaners temporarily. Taking that down and really shifting it a little bit away from the gas station
Mhm,
and really creating a real street. So sidewalks, street trees, everything.
mhm.
It's a big lift. It's very expensive. So I think what they're looking at is, okay, how is the courtyard doing? Because they
Mhm.
know that if they realign that street a little bit, it makes a much better entrance to the entire center. So they do have
Mhm.
plans to do that. I don't know where they are in actually getting that done. I think the city is interested in doing that as well. That entire intersection probably needs to be straightened out a little bit. And so they are aware that we've got future transportation improvements along that area. So we're probably gonna have to work out when that happens, when we make some of our investments as well. But absolutely, they see that need and they think taking that little bank building down will open it up so people can actually see the center from Chamblee Dunwoody.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yep.
Fantastic. Anyone else have any questions for Michael?
Mhm.
I have a ton, Michael, but I'll just, I can ask you at another time. I'd keep you so long, but I really appreciate you joining us. Thanks for the update. And,
Absolutely.
if we can help
Happy
you
to
in
do
any
it.
way, let us know.
Let me know every 6 months. I'd be happy to come back.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael Sterling.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Dunwoody Schools, as everyone knows, is back this past week. It's virtual this coming week. I'm not sure if it's virtual or not. Plus, the comprehensive master plan has been released, and I see Lee. Are you still with us?
I'm here.
There you are. If you would give us an update on everything that you have, we would greatly appreciate it. If you don't know, Lee is one of the originators of Educate Dunwoody.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's having a nice night. Sorry, I missed the first part of the call. I was getting my kids to bed, but the Saints aren't going to the playoffs, so I'm in a good mood right now. A couple of education updates to throw around for everybody. The first is, so last week, DeKalb Schools was virtual, which is pretty much on par with most of the school districts in the metro area. I think Cobb and Cherokee were the only ones in Gwinnett, that went in person, and everybody else was virtual last week. Starting Monday, we're back in person, which is welcome news to a lot of families. There is a virtual option for families who aren't comfortable with that. They just need to reach out to their local school and talk with their local principal. So just in keeping with space and grace, as Mayor Deutsch always says, reach out if you know anyone who's in the public schools and they see if they need any help, any supplies. I know I've been giving our bus driver N95 masks and wipes, things like that. Even if you don't have kids who ride the bus, this is something that you can donate to a school, or you can donate to the bus stop in the morning or in the afternoon. I know the drivers especially appreciate it.
Mhm.
The school choice window opened on Friday. So those of you who don't know, the school choice is the program that DeKalb Schools has for anyone going to a school outside of their locally zoned school. So there's some magnet programs. Kent Ridge is the most common one, of course, in our area. A lot of our community members go to Chamblee as part of that magnet program, but there's DeKalb School of the Arts and just a couple of other programs out there. So that window opened on Friday, and I believe they have until February 4th. Don't quote me on that date. It's at the very beginning of February to enroll, and then however the schools select their students, they'll start that process in February. Public comment. So I think we had a really good run, especially before COVID, with public comment down at the central offices. Since the meetings have gone virtual, public comment has become a little less motivating, I think. You prepare a speech and you give it on Friday morning. It's pre-recorded. Their tech team puts it together and shows it at the meeting on Monday. And it's hard to kind of get fired up when you're in your laundry room or your pantry or wherever you're giving your speech. So I think a lot of people have pulled back from doing public comment, but there's 6 speakers this week. I recognized a lot of the names, which is good that we have a Dunwoody crowd showing up. But I mean, if you go to any Facebook page that involves our community and someone posts something about schools, there's 95 comments. I just would really love those comments to get to the people that enact the change. And, the Facebook comment thread doesn't serve that purpose. So it's too late for this month, but starting in February, you can start signing up on Monday after the meeting for public comment. And you can reach out to me or to the Educate Dunwoody Facebook page if you'd like information on how to sign up. It's not as intimidating as you think it is. The CMP, this is huge. So those of you who don't know, the CMP stands for the Comprehensive Master Plan. So DeKalb Schools has hired an outside firm to come in, do some demographic studies, just all sorts of studies, quite frankly, and then put together a suggested plan for how to improve the operations, the capacity, just a whole host of things that need fixing, old buildings that need repair and need updating and fixing at DeKalb Schools. They have been working on this for about 1.5 years now, and the presentation to the board will be on Monday. You can view the presentation now. It's on the DeKalb Schools meetings website. But the big, just some highlights that impact our cluster is Hightower, which is by the Home Depot in Doraville, is slated to be moved out of the Dunwoody cluster and into the Chamblee cluster. Kittredge and Wadsworth, which are the 2 elementary school magnet programs that the district has, they're standalone schools. They are currently 4th through 6th grade. And there is a proposal to have them both become 4th through 8th grade, with Wadsworth taking that lead starting next year. Now, none of this has been approved. This is just the proposal. There's a part of the proposal is Austin and the new Shallowford School that will be built on the corner of Chamblee, Dunwoody, Peeler, and Shallowford. Austin and that new Shallowford to be for K through 8 schools. Let's see, the Carrie Reynolds Elementary School, which is in, I can't picture where, I can picture the school. I can't picture where, I think it's in Doraville. It might be in Chamblee. Carrie Reynolds is in rough shape as a building. So one of the proposals, I believe, starting next year is to move Carrie Reynolds as a schoolhouse into the Nancy Creek location, and then to rebuild and or repair that Carrie Reynolds location. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that will reunite DES into one school again, which DES 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, really, was split into an upper and lower campus. So provided everything's approved, DES will be made whole again starting in August. Let's see, all the funding for this is coming from East Bloss 5 reconciliation and East Bloss 6 funds, and it's all going to be voted on in the February BOE meeting. The last thing to bring up, and I didn't have time to look at this, so I didn't really want to give any highlights, but DeKalb Schools has proposed its legislative agenda priorities, and there is some stuff in there that piqued my interest for anyone who's nerds out on this kind of stuff like I do. I'm trying to pull it up. It's a comment about the QBE formula, which is a lot to digest, but they've got a legislative priority regarding that and regarding tax diversions and abatements. So I don't want to comment on them because I didn't have a chance to read, but if that's something that interests you, you can check out their, I think their Instagram page is where we saw that. And I think that's all. Oh, and DES, I asked for updates from the community just for local schools, because we know our school and that's sort of it. And no one responded. So I'll give you an update from my school. So my son's in third grade at DES, and they just finished their recertification for Cognia for STEM certification, which is a priority of the school to keep and maintain that and continue funding the programs. And I know firsthand in my house, I've got a science kid, and they do some really cool stuff with everything. Big deal to our local school, and I encourage anyone who knows or has updates about other local schools to share them, or at least either here or on the Educate Dunwoody page or through the forum, whatever means you feel comfortable with. And that's about all. Any questions?
Hey, Leah, I'm hearing a lot of talk of potentially Austin and a couple of the other schools going K through 8. Do you think that's real possibilities, or?
I don't know. I know that there was it was either a cluster wide or a district wide. I read it real quickly. PAC meeting where like they all got together, and my understanding.
Cluster.
Was it a cluster? Okay, thank you. And who said that?
Hi, it's Nina. Hey, Leah.
Oh, hey.
Thanks,
Okay,
Nina.
it was the cluster.
Yes, they had a cluster PAC meeting last week. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so in that cluster PAC meeting, if I have it correctly, and Nina, please correct me if I'm wrong. Peachtree Middle School PAC is advocating that all of the elementary schools in the Dunwoody cluster become K through 6. Which would lead me to believe, and this wasn't stated, but it would lead me to believe that Peachtree would become 7 and 8. I'm thinking that's how I interpret it, and that's to help, I'm assuming, with overcrowded. So I'm making some assumptions here, but is that how you understood it, Nina?
It is. And I have seen a letter written by one of their PAC chairs, which basically states that they would be more in favor of that as a solution for all the elementaries to be K6 rather than 2 of them be K8.
Wonderful. Okay, and I was personally very happy to hear that. I think K through 6 is a great model. I went to elementary school that way, but it just keeps things. One of the things they stated in that article or in the letter, is it keeps just sort of all the elementary schools in the cluster on the same page.
Right.
Kind of keeps the community all on the same page as well, which I couldn't agree with more. So I'm happy to hear that.
Right.
But again, that's their letter, and that's not part of what's being proposed on Monday. So there's obviously tweaking. I think I didn't say this, and I meant to. The comprehensive master plan will be voted on at the February meeting, so next month. So there's a whole month to provide feedback if you haven't already on, and there's the whole website that goes through this, and you can get down to the nitty gritty as far as you want with how it impacts, your school or, your local community, Dunwoody as a whole, Region 1, et cetera. So that's, I think Bob was the one who raised the question. That's kind of all there is. Right now, it's just Austin and the new Shallowford that would be proposed as K through 8. The Peachtree PAC is proposing K through 6 for all elementary schools, and Peachtree stays 7 and 8. So to keep the community more intact.
And I was talking to the mayor earlier today. You correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, we're looking at all of the elementary schools right now because of COVID. Predominantly are under capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vanderlyn is still over, but they're significantly lower. And don't quote me on that. I know DES.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think they're so much lower than they were.
Yeah. I actually think all the other schools are actually under capacity, but I think Vanderlyn is still needs its trailers, but I don't know what their numbers were, but they've dropped significantly, and that could be wrong. But yeah, the short answer to your question is yes. We have, at the elementary school level, our local community schools have. There's been a lots of shifts in population in the schools leaving.
Leah, is there anything in the master plan about relieving the crowding at Dunwoody High? I get that we're trying to relieve overcrowding at Peachtree Middle, but all these kids are going to eventually go to Dunwoody High. Anything in there to help us with that?
So the first thing, and that's and it's part of one of the immediate first steps, is Hightower is slated to be moved out of the cluster. So Hightower, I mean, I have no idea how many kids they send to Dunwoody High School, but that's a 700 student elementary school. So that leaving will alleviate the cluster.
Well, I mean, that's 120 kids a year, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah,
enough.
as I recall, Robert, I think we're talking about 500 kids in all.
So if you take 500 kids, that's going to take DES. What is DES at? 26, and it's supposed to be at what, 17?
No, Dunwoody High School was at 23 before COVID. I think they've lost about 100. So, and it's built for 1,500. I think if you eliminate 500, you're going to be pretty close to where you should be.
I think the expansion to the high school, though, raised the capacity when they did. This is before my time, and I don't want to misquote numbers. But so the short answer to your question is Hightower's coming out at the moment. It's proposed. And the other answer is it's proposed that once the new Shallowford is built and the new Sequoia cluster. So I didn't go into the whole region one with the comprehensive plan because I think it's just a lot of information. And if you're interested, you can go look at a really simple slideshow. But just to further the discussion, part of the plan has a new cluster, a brand new cluster in Region 1, which is the Sequoia cluster. So that would be a brand new middle and high school. And it would pull from some of the consolidated and rebuilt elementary schools. When that happens, that's a lot of things that need to happen. They're proposing that the Shallowford School be moved into the Chamblee cluster. And I don't have the date in front of me as to when that's supposed to be, but I mean, I imagine that to be at least 6 years down the road, if not further. I don't know. So there isn't a huge amount of relief in that regard, but I think removing Hightower is a chunk of students that will help with that overcrowding.
And this is Lynn again, and I want to add that some of the struggle that we're going to face is our own schools and the region, the cluster and the region and the county is that their projections, they've been very difficult for them to manage because of the impact of COVID. So I believe, though I could be wrong, I think they have Hightower being a lot bigger than it is right now, and it's pretty big right now. Down the road. So they would probably argue that it's more than 100 students a grade. It's closer to 150 or whatever. I had a similar discussion with the consultant about Ashford Park. So I think that's part and parcel to Leah's point about Sequoia. It's a great goal, but it's a few years down the road. And so I just think their projections are kind of all over the place because of COVID.
Well, and not only COVID. I mean, yes, because of COVID, I think it's almost impossible to predict that. I mean, I'm looking at my own school community. I would have never dreamt what would have happened. But even when part of the reason Dunwoody High School got to be so overcrowded as it is because their projections 10 years ago were so poor on this. So, I mean, it's the nature of that game. So, I'm not convinced all of this is going to relieve the high school. But I kind of think a lot of us just don't know what post-COVID numbers are going to look like. And there's, then we can extrapolate and comment on it all day long. But I think a lot of it's, we don't know.
Absolutely.
Sue, did you have a question?
Me?
No. Yeah. No. Okay. Well, I appreciate the update, Leah.
Can I just
Sure.
ask one quick thing? I mean, this is at the end of the day, part of the reasons education is so important to me is not only because it's little kids, but it's because I think the best thing that we can advocate for is a safe and healthy, education for all of our kids and all of our community's kids. So there's a lot of, I don't want what I said to come out as bad. A lot of good is in the CMP. It's like a lot of things with our schools. I'm just extremely hopeful they follow through with the hard and dirty work that needs to be done, because at the end of the day, you know, a trailer isn't bad, but a moldy is, you know, and we need to, that to me is the focus of the community. It should be, is safe and healthy classrooms for all of our kids. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Leah. Great summary.
All right. Anything, Nina, did you want to add anything else?
You did a wonderful job. I can tell you from the perspective of an Austin parent, first of all, regarding updates, I can't think of anything significant, like your mention of the recertification. Everything's going really well. Of course, as everyone knows, we do have a lot of open capacity due to the new building and the expanded seats. And we also lost a tremendous amount of students post-COVID in the virtual year, which, like Leah, also feels so shocked that that could happen. I will just say regarding the K-8 proposal, this is just me speaking personally. This is not from our PAC. I think there's a lot of mixed reaction to that out there. I'll go so far as to say that what I am noticing is if it is a parent that only has very young children, they seem to initially think it's a fabulous idea. If they are a parent who has or has recently had a middle or high schooler, they are very skeptical of the idea of a K-8. So I've found that very interesting. And I just want the community to know on behalf of Austin that we didn't ask for this. We didn't advocate for it in any way. Whatever comes to be of it, personally, I like the idea of K-6 everywhere as a more equitable solution. But I just want everyone to know that Barbara Crum of Willem Perkins did tell our PAC on a call that she was commissioned by the district to find somewhere to put them. And that's kind of where it came from. And I think Austin and Shalford kind of stick out as a sore thumb because they're either about to be built or just built and have some capacity. And that's how they got plopped in there. Leah, do you agree? It wasn't really that I can gather for any other reason other than it kind of just fit in some chess game. So I'll just say that, you know, whatever comes of it, but I appreciate what you're doing, Leah, and hope that everyone, like you said, will be really involved in their feedback in this process.
Yes, please go to the website. Please comment. Please comment. I mean, however you feel about it, they are not hearing from us, if you can believe that, as much as they would like to, and if you can believe that. So they're saying, please comment. And, you know, I have to reiterate, and then I'll be done. You don't have to have a child. Every one of you, by virtue of being in this call, is a stakeholder in our schools. So please, just, it can be one thing. I support K through 8, or I support a K through 6, or whatever. You don't have an opinion on everything. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
I might
Appreciate
ask,
it, Leah. Nina, go ahead, Bill.
yeah, I might ask, the Chamblee Dunwoody Georgetown location, the acreage there, how does that work into this new plan?
I don't know exactly what you mean. Can you be more specific?
Shalford.
No, I know the location, but what do you mean? How does it work with the plan? With the
I thought it was going to be put back into place as a 10-acre elementary school.
It is.
But it's not 10 acres.
It's well,
Or whatever's
I
there.
was waiting for Lynn to chime in, Mayor Deutsch to chime
No,
in.
it's not 10 acres. It's 9.1, and then they gave about 4/10 of an acre to the water department as an easement, and there's a facility on it. And we can't get the superintendent. I sent a long letter, not a long letter, I sent a short email asking questions. The transportation study was done for a K-5. The school board, the state school superintendent, the facilities office approved a K-5. What does this mean? And I got nothing. So, you know, and so she hasn't responded. In person, they have told a group of mayors that they don't have any answers. And if you look at the current CMP plan, it says essentially a year of study on K-8. There are only 3 K-8 proposed. the 2 in Dunwoody and 1 at Smoke Rise, which I'm certain Smoke Rise has space because it wasn't a big elementary school when they got a new building. And so, so they don't have answers to basic questions. If your kid wants to play basketball, what happens? You know, they don't have any of those answers yet. They are content with saying that they will do the study. They came up with this, as Nina said, it was a way, I'll say it more bluntly than I think they told Austin, is that they needed to avoid constructing another middle school in Region 1. And so this is a money saving solution that now they're trying to back into for academic reasons. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just telling you that I sent a letter, an email asking for answers on questions, and they didn't answer me. So that's where we are with that. That's your answer, Bill. They haven't answered.
Well, I have strongly supported for decades limiting the elementary schools in Dunwoody to the ones within the city limits.
Well, that's in the current plan. It takes Hightower, which is in Doraville, and zones it to a new cluster. Oh, and Hightower is slated in the next decade to get a new building, and they're saying that will be K-8 unless that changed. I don't know if that changed. So all things are fluid in DeKalb schools. How's that?
It usually is, but it sounds positive, actually. There's opportunities.
These are interesting opportunities with no plans.
I mean, so like I said before, I do think there's a lot of good in it.
Yeah.
And I think the mayor is accurate in saying that there is a lot of questions, and I think my personal opinion is there's a lot of, oh, we need to do this, plop, let's put that right there, and we can figure that out in a few years. There is a lot of fluidity in the proposed CMP. So, and I fully expect the K through 8s to be one of those points.
I have a question. If the elementary schools go K through 8, would the middle school then be 9, 10, and the high school be 11, 12, which would help overcrowding?
No, because right now, only 2 elementary schools that would be K-8. The other ones would remain K-5, and those students would go to Peachtree.
Doesn't even make sense to do it that way.
I'm not in charge.
I mean, I know I don't have kids or anything. And plus the fact that DeKalb County sends surveys. Dunwoody has all kinds of surveys for citizens to participate in. I do not understand why the school district does not do an email survey, just like DeKalb County just did. Why they don't do a survey, because even if you're a senior, we're still paying school taxes, and it's in our best interest to have a really good school system if you live here. So is there any way to get them to do a survey?
They do a lot of surveys. I'm going to guess you're not receiving them because you're not, you don't have a child in the district, because I get 18.
Right, but I'm paying taxes.
No, I completely agree with you. I'm assuming that the survey lists go out to their distribution list. And if you don't have a child, or you're not, somehow involved directly, you're missing from that list. So a couple of things, I can find out who to email, and you also can go to the DeKalb Schools website, and anyone can take the survey from there. The email, the distro list is just to inform you about it. It takes you to a link to the page. So by being on the email, you're not privy to something no one else can do. It's just, they make it easier for you to do it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if you Google DeKalb County Schools Comprehensive Master Plan, or CMP even, it pulls up a huge page. And if you're a data person, I mean, you can look at maps, and you can look at enrollment and historical trends. You can look at the whole thing. And it is interesting if you're, the viability of our schools is something that, you want to sort of dig into. But in there are all the surveys and all the results of the surveys. And some of the surveys have open-ended questions. You can read all the answers. You can read everything. So that would be my suggestion. The easiest thing would be just go to the webpage and take all the surveys.
Mhm.
Thank you, Leah. Appreciate it. Any other questions?
Mhm. Cool.
Mayor, last word?
Not necessary, thank you.
Okay.
I'm waiting
Thank
for
you,
my
appreciate it.
email to be answered.
Yeah. Thank
I'm
you.
sure that an answer is coming ASAP. Appreciate it, ladies. Thank you very much. We've got potentially a little change going on in the farmers market, although we haven't come to any conclusions yet. Bill, do you want to speak on the farmers market, whatever it is that we could say really at this point in time?
Or maybe this would be good for board only to start with until we have some more solid answers.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, she's probably right.
Okay. Okay.
And
Well,
so
with that said,
before
that
you
would-
dismiss us, I just want to thank DHA for sponsoring the farmers market for another season. It is very much a community event, and thank y'all.
I would
You're welcome.
recommend an
Appreciate it.
exception in this case and allow Lynn to sit in on the
Yeah.
discussion if she
I do
wishes.
too. I agree.
That's fine.
Okay, well, with that said, I don't think we need to vote on that. Let's make this, the rest of this meeting board only. We'll close the public portion of the meeting. Adrian, you good with that?
I can't.
Oh, you're muted, Adrian.
You're muted.
Yeah, and you just need to stop recording.
All
You're
right.
muted.
But do we need to stop recording?
There you go.
I've already took us out of YouTube, so that is now gone.
Okay.
Okay, yes, if we'll start the recording and we'll make it board only for the rest of the evening.
Mhm.